Alright, it's been a while since my last beer video, but here we are. It's brew day, and today I'm making the Vienna Lager that I did on my first stovetop small batch several months ago now. It turned out so well, we're going to make it again. Alright, I'm going to do the same style beer as before, the Vienna Lager, with basically the same grain bill, but I'm going to make a few changes and corrections. The first time I made this, instead of Magnum hops, I mistakenly bought Hallertau Magnum, which is probably why my IBUs weren't nearly as high as they should have been. Magnum is 12.789%, and Hallertau Magnum is lower than that. So I got the correct hops this time. I'm also going to use the proper yeast as called for in the original recipe, which is Safale 3470. I forget what I bought and used the last time, but they were out of 3470, so I substituted just some other dry lager yeast, and I don't remember what it was. So this time I've got everything that the recipe calls for in the right amounts. And one of the great things about these small batch beers is that that's my whole grain bill. Just over 5 pounds. Did I mention that it's December 24th, Christmas Eve? It's cold outside. It's cold in the garage. Why I don't brew out here in the wintertime. Only home brewers get a kick out of watching grain being milled. Well, in addition to using the correct hops and the correct yeast, this recipe will have one more change, and that is I'm going to use the short and shoddy method where this recipe came from. Even though I used the recipe from Brewlosophy's short and shoddy experiment, I still did a 60-minute mash and a 60-minute boil, and if you watched that previous video, you may have seen me at the end saying that even though it's a small batch, it still takes just as long as a full-size batch doing it that way. So I am going to do a shortened mash. Marshall does 20 minutes. I'm going to do 30 just to get a little extra efficiency out of it. And I'm going to boil for 20 to 30 minutes. So it's time to dough in. Give this a good stir. Make sure there's no dough balls. I've got this pretty tight, this bag, so as not to scorch the bottom. But I think I'm going to loosen it up just a little bit. Give myself some room for those grains to get in the water. Alright, let's see if we hit our mash temperature. Looking for 154, and I've got 154.4. For all intents and purposes, filming aside, I turned on the fire underneath my strike water at about 20 after 3. I started mashing right around 4 o'clock. It's almost 4:30. So far it's a pretty quick brew day. There she goes. All right, the 30-minute mash is over. Now the hard part. Much easier without the microwave over top of the kettle, but what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to let this drain, turn the flame back on, and start the boil. Right, real quick, before I go any farther, let's take a pre-boil gravity reading. I'm supposed to be at 1039. And my bricks is just under 10 bricks. I've already converted that in the Beersmith tools, and 10 bricks equals 1040 gravity. So I am exactly where I want to be, just 1 point higher. I'll take that. Okay, so what do you think? Is that a boil? It's maybe a soft boil, but yeah, it's rolling over. So I'm going to add my first addition of hops, a 1/4 ounce of Tettnang and a 1/4 ounce of Magnum, not Hallertau Magnum like I mistakenly purchased last time, real Magnum. And that goes in for the full 30-minute boil. And then at 10 minutes left in the boil, I'll add another 1/4 ounce of Tettnang. So, Alexa, start a timer for 20 minutes. All right, 20 minutes down, 10 minutes to go. Got a 1/4 ounce of Tettnang hops. I've thrown in a little bit of yeast nutrient and a Horflock tablet, which is probably overkill for this size batch, but there you go. All right, the timer has gone off. 30 minutes is done. Turn the heat off under the kettle, and we're finished boiling. Normally, I would never begin a brew day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but using this short and shoddy method with a 30-minute mash and a 30-minute boil, I started at about 3:20 is when I turned the flame on underneath the mash tun to heat my strike water, and I'm turning the flame off under the boil kettle at 5:40. It's not a bad deal. Now if this turns out, I'm going to make a lot more short and shoddy brew days for sure. But now all I have to do is cool this. I'll try to get as close to 65 to 66 degrees as I can. Pitch the yeast, and we'll be off to the races. Brew day done. Alright, with my strike temperature, blah, 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 blah.